Hi, everyone. It's Theresa again with Golden Owl Consulting, and I'm here today to teach you guys part 2 of creating your video marketing campaign for local small businesses. So today we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to talk from your brain to your campaign. So this is going to be all about brainstorming and how we're going to get the ideas from all of your heads into one project where we're all on the same page, we're all looking for the same end result, and how we're going to achieve that. So the first thing to remember is that you guys all have worksheets that are you can print out. I sent them over with John and your teacher, so you should have those. And during this, what you can do is take some notes on there. And as I'm explaining things, I'm going to walk you guys through a video campaign that I'm currently working on for my business and a nonprofit that I work with. And I'm going to walk you guys through the process I'm going through with that, so you guys have some good examples and can understand where we're getting the ideas from and the concepts from behind planning this video and brainstorming. So as I'm going through this, jot some notes down on that worksheet. And then later on, after today's course, you guys are going to sit together, and over the course of the next week, 2 weeks, you're going to come together and figure out the exact final brainstorm for your worksheet. And I say final in a sense of that's the direction that you're going to take, because it is important to remember that as you're planning this, there might be times where things come up and you have to just make a quick call on the fly and figure out what you're going to do during the project. That could be day of shoot, or there's going to be times where you realize, hey, this idea might work a little bit better. Let's put that down too and see how we feel closer towards filming and production and distribution of the video. So keep in mind that things may change and you do have to be flexible with them, but this is to give you a good guide and a good roadmap for getting started with this project. So as you can see here, there's 2 sides of the creative brainstorming process that we're going to cover today. The campaign side, which is the marketing side of things, the goals for your campaign, your objectives, finding your target market, the tagline and feature of your commercial itself. So you're going to want to keep that theme going through it, incorporating the style and the vision into that tagline and theme. After that, you're going to do some research on other markets that are doing things like you guys, as well as figuring out the length of the commercial, the video, how long you want it to be, how you're going to distribute it, and the timeline that you're going to go through, start to finish, planning to execution to production and distribution. So that's going to be the marketing side of things. And then we're briefly going to discuss the business side of things, being your budget, again, your timeline, because that's really important, even though it's on both sides. It does matter for both, because there's going to be some contracts and different things that you guys are going to have to work into the process, which will come on both sides of marketing as well as the business side. Any restrictions that are in place, this is something new that we have to consider when working with businesses. I always need to know what the protocol is for on-site. If we're doing day of shoots on-site for their social media, if we're just doing a meeting, what's that constitute? Do we have to wear the masks? Do we have to, remain certain people to every other seat, or how that would work with filming on-site with those businesses. So you're going to have to look in and see with the restrictions what it's going to be like to work with the different businesses and how you're going to be able to film on-site with them. And lastly, what we're going to cover is releases and press releases. Now, this will be press releases, how we're going to get your video out to the media, out to different resources and outlets to get it played on, many different platforms that we're trying to get, websites, social medias, local news, local stations. And the second set is releases for people that will be recorded in the video, and part of that being shared, so we have the rights to use their identity, their face, and their business. So let's jump in. Now, the concept that I'm going for today with my example is the Andrew Mazza Foundation's Diesel Jam. Diesel Jam is a truck show that takes place at Johnson College. It's been 2 years we've done it. Last year, unfortunately, we had to postpone it until this year because of COVID, but we're in the process of starting to pick back up with that. And that includes trying to mass produce and mass market some of the promotional materials, which is unlike something that we've done in the past because we've had a lot of time to adjust. But now we're kind of jumping into it with a little less time. So we're trying to cover more ground. And we've decided to go with a promotional video. So the first thing you need to think about is the goal. What is your goal in this video? What do you want this video to achieve in the long run? So for us, with the Andrew Mazza Foundation, our goals are to increase attendance at the truck show, increase participation, and that comes from local businesses, local food vendors, sponsors, which inevitably means gain more event sponsors. So those are our three goals. We're trying to make this bigger and better every year. So our goal is to increase all of those things through this video that we're going to produce and get out there before the truck show to gain exposure in different areas of the event. Now, your goals may be a little bit smaller. One of your goals is definitely to promote local small businesses, but within that goal, you may find one or two other things that you'd like to do, such as featuring a nonprofit small business that's locally run, or featuring a business that you have a tie to. Might be a different goal. So that's something you can consider also. After you've decided on your goals, you want to figure out your objectives. So how are we going to show people the way to get to the goal? So essentially what we're going to do here is ask ourselves some questions. How are we going to do this? Where are we going to do this? Why are we going to do this? So my objectives in going into this video are to show the event growth to potential sponsors. Hey, there's potential here for you to be exposed to more people within the industry that you would like to be exposed into. A lot of our sponsors are within the truck and automobile diesel community. So the sponsors are going to see, hey, there was 100 more participants here last year than the year before. This might be a good time to jump on. So we're going to show them that. We're going to show them the amount of participants as well as other sponsors and vendors have grown over the last 2 years into what we are putting together for this year. And we also want to attract the attendees to the event. Increasing attendance, that's what that means, attract attendees to the event. So your objectives are very in line with your goals, and it just kind of helps you to figure out the how of how you're going to present these things to reach those goals. Next, it's important that we talk your target market. So for us, with the foundation, the target market is the diesel truck industry through sponsors, vendors, and participants. So as you can see here, I listed some subcategories, things that we're going to look into, businesses that we're going to contact. We're going to get in touch with them in regards to sponsorships. Do you want to be a vendor? Hey, do any of the guys that work for you want to bring their truck to the show and participate? So we'll reach out to them with this video and other marketing sources to kind of get them excited and get them intrigued about the event and maybe get our word spread through their companies and get them there in attendance and kind of grow through that. So the first thing you want to do for your target market is break them into categories. You guys are going to focus on local businesses. That means local shoppers. It's important to understand as well that this may fall into a couple different categories. So as you can see here where we have the attendees after the diesel truck industry sponsors and vendors. This is the attendees. This is people who aren't directly involved in the industry, but we want to attract to the truck show to increase attendance and overall increase the profit that we make for the nonprofit. So we want to reach out to families, truck enthusiasts, people within our community, the Andrew Mazza Foundation community. The event is hosted in conjunction with Johnson College. So we're going to reach out to their community, their staff, their students, their families. So this kind of shows you how you can branch off into different areas within your target market. For instance, if you go with a local business who sells hand soaps, you may want to gauge that towards a female demographic. Whereas if you're going for a business that hosts kids' birthday parties, you're going to take that and feature it towards parents and families a little bit differently than you would the designer soaps for the females. So with that in mind, it's important to know that your demographic and your target market can be fairly broad, but define it as much as you can and try to really hone in on different keywords and different hashtags that will come in later in the process. But these are all things that are going to fall into that as we're looking into the different industries within our target market. It's important here too to remember that you're also considering small business owners as your target market because the small business community very, very, very much so supports each other. So that's something to keep in mind too, is you don't want to exclude the small business community just because this video is to promote them. You can include them in your target demographic as you're filming. Next, you're going to want to pick your tagline. So that tagline is going to lead you into the style and the vision of your commercial and the feel of your video. That's how you're going to portray your story to the community members and your target market. So our tagline for this truck show is the Northeast Premier Diesel Truck Show event. Now, we haven't decided show or event yet, so that's something to keep in mind while you guys plan as well. There's going to be times where one or two words fit, and it comes down to figuring out, well, what gets more traction. So you could do something as simple as search a hashtag show versus event and see where that lies with the results. So when you're thinking about the tagline, you can use a couple of different variations, and then you're going to want to figure out and combine the one that you feel is best for promotional use. Once you figure that out, the next thing you're going to want to do is figure out the style and the vision and the feel. So for us, we want to show through this video fun and excitement. We're entertaining people. We're getting families to come out. We're getting friends to come out. We're getting community members to get together and come out. We're getting the truck community to get together. People that usually go to truck shows and compete in their trucks are now there together enjoying this truck show. So how this can pertain to you is when you're thinking about the different styles of local small businesses that you want to work with, you can kind of lay those out. So for instance, say you want to do one about a gift baskets, you want to do a restaurant, you want to do a natural health store, you want to do a store where they sell food items and groceries, you want to do a bookstore. You can truly feature any store that you want, but it's good to get an idea of ones that you'll be able to mesh well together in the theme and the feel of your commercial. If you're going for homegrown and family stores and that's your message, you're trying to tug on the heartstrings of these families, you're probably going to want to feature stores where the owners have a family and a large family, or the business has been family run for years and years and years. So that's something to think about, and kind of connecting the industry and the business dots as you're going through feeling for the theme. But again, they don't have to fit into that, but it's always good to try to get your theme to be consistent across the entire video. And then another thing that goes into our vision and our style for this commercial for the foundation is telling Andrew's story, which is important to us because he is the reason for the Andrew Mazza Foundation. So for you guys, that can translate into showing the need and the desire for these small business owners to thrive within the communities, and the need for the people to come out and shop at the small businesses because they're suffering from COVID and they're trying to keep, up and running, keep their doors open, but it's easier said than done sometimes with the things that we've been experiencing. So as we're trying to tell Andrew's story and the reason why we started this foundation in this event, you guys can portray that as why you've chosen to do the video the way you've done the video and how to portray that message. And then we've decided there's some different things you can do. You can do a voiceover, you can do interviews with different small businesses, you can just feature them and create a song or find something to play in the background. That's totally up to you guys. So that depends on what you want to do. If you want the feel of a voiceover and more of like a documentary style commercial, then you would go with the voiceover. If you want more biographical commercial, you would go with interviewing different business owners and putting that within the commercial for the audio. So this is all totally up to you guys. I'm just kind of guiding you through and helping you to understand what we need to figure out and what we need to pick and get together before we start the next step in the process. So once you've figured these things out and you know how you want your video to feel, what you want that vibe to be, you're going to do some research. For me, I look at similar events within the industry, as you can see below. We lay out usually 9 to 15 different similar events that we can look into, different organizations that we can look into and watch what they're doing. So my advice to you guys is to Google small business commercials during COVID and kind of look into them, see what you like, see what connects with you and your team as a class. And then that's what you're going to want to portray so you can get some ideas going there. But make sure you do make it your own and original. You can pull different ideas, but it does at the end of the day have to be from your brain, so that you avoid any kind of copyrights or anything like that. So make sure that you do put your own spin on whatever information you're using. Next, it's important to pick the length. So, are you going to use a 1 minute to a minute and a half video? That's what we're going to do. That's something that helps us to put it across different platforms. We're going to rely heavily on social media for this rather than local news stations. So, the commercial could be a little bit longer, but it does need to be at least 90 seconds or shorter so that it does fit into streams as we create ads on different social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. So we're going to stick with that 90-second commercial goal. But again, if you guys want to do something a little bit longer, you can, but that's a good suggested length, 1 minute to a minute and a half at most. Our timeline. So our timeline's going to be pretty much the same as what we're working with here to get your video out. So we're doing the planning in January and February. This is where you're starting. You're going to be about a month behind on this timeline. So you'll start February, March with your planning. You took the first class, you found out about the project. Now we're going to do this brainstorming, and you're going to kind of start executing things and figuring out what needs to be done next in order to start the video process. So this brainstorming session is part of your planning. So we'll put that in February, March, and then move forward to the execution phase around March and April. So we're looking to release the video hopefully by the end of May, beginning of June, pending on when you guys get out of school and when we make the calendars work. But that's our goal, is usually beginning of May towards the beginning of June. So with that in mind, now you have to figure out where you want to use this video. So as you can see here for the foundation, we're using Facebook, Instagram, both our website and Johnson College websites, and their social media as well. So we've teamed up on this to come together and get more exposure through each of them. We are also going to include this video in private emails to potential sponsors, vendors, participants, industry professionals that may get the word out for us. So we're going to also use this as a private email tool, which is even more advanced marketing for the campaign. We're also going to submit it to local television stations, WNEP, WYOU, Fox. We work with Adams Cable and get it put on there, Community Reel. We also work with the truck show works in a lot of different areas. So we're going to contact Blue Ridge Cable, and we're going to do some research into upstate New York, New Jersey, Ohio, that area, to see if we can get people to come in for the truck show, because we have had participants from out of state before. So the more we can expose to those areas, the better we can publicize it and maybe get some more people from out of the area and grow the truck show in the Northeast, which is our goal in our tagline as well. So once you figure out where your placement is, that's pretty much what you're going to do for the marketing end of things right now. You're going to brainstorm and feel the vision for your commercial. Talk it through. For me, when we were sitting down as a committee, starting to talk about this video, we each went around the room and we told our vision of what we would like to see. And then when we found the most consistent version, we kind of tweaked it to add some other ideas. There were things that some people didn't say that others did that we liked. So we kind of just went around the room, brainstormed, let out our ideas, and let everybody throw in their ideas as well. And we kind of came to a general decision on the look, feel, length, style, and use of the commercial. So that's something that you guys are going to sit and do with that worksheet that you're going to print out. And at the end, you should have one master worksheet for the entire class that you guys are going to work off of as we plan the rest of the video. After the marketing phase, we jump into things such as budgeting. So luckily for the foundation with this commercial and the video editing, it's included in their marketing package, which is run through Golden Owl Consulting. However, we work with them at a very discounted rate. So this video is really going to only cost the time and the production, because we have everything else done from previous marketing campaigns, which I have access to since I do them. So for us, the average we're thinking is about $500 budget if we were to have to put things into equipment, professional assistance, editing, advertising, production, talent for the videos, supplies that we may need, the venue to use, travel, getting back and forth from filming. These are things that you guys would consider as you're going towards creating the project. However, we're going to try to do most of these things for you. We do have editing software that we're going to suggest that is free to use. So we're going to try to do things like that so you don't have to think of a budget. But hypothetically, it's good to know going into doing a campaign what goes into a budget and what you're not thinking about that's not right in front of your face as you're planning. And the next thing is, you guys don't have to worry about this, but it's important to know it moving forward if you are going to do any of your own marketing in the future, is that your contracts matter. So you want to make sure that you're writing contracts if you're working with anyone else to make sure that your scope for the project is on the same page. This contract, for instance, would be if you hired an editor, if you hired a marketing company to plan the video and then you did the editing and distribution. There's a lot of different variations, but make sure that you're protected and you have a contract for everything that you do, including things like this and projects where you're collaborating with other businesses. So after that, you're going to want to focus on a press release as well as a participant release. This is something that you guys can Google. It's a very simple one-page sheet. It basically just asks for the permission of the business owner to use their venue as to shoot at their venue, to use their image, to use their logos. They're releasing that to you to use for this commercial. So these are important, and it's something that you should get in the habit of doing, as well as the contract. So we are going to develop that for this course, but that's going to be something we worry about a little bit later. It's just good to have on your radar as you're making a to-do list in the brainstorming phase of what you need to accomplish. So it's time for you guys to start brainstorming. Questions you're going to ask yourself: what are your goals and what are you trying to achieve with this video? Again, that's support local small business. Some of your goals can be a little bit different than the main goal. You can have sub goals, like we have, to reach a different audience as well as gain our sponsors. So you can have multiple goals, but your main goal is really going to be supporting that local small business and getting them the community support that they need. Again, another goal can be helping the local small business community bond together and work together to grow the community and to support each other. So there could be a couple different goals, and that's something that you guys are going to figure out as you go along and start talking. Your objectives: how are you going to reach these goals? How are you going to visualize the end result goal? For us, we want to increase participation, so we're showing how participation has grown. For you guys, you want to show small business community supporting the small business community and supporting each other. You're going to go, and how are you going to create that? Maybe interview 2 different small business owners and have them sit down and talk about their stories together. That's an idea, and that's how you're going to reach that local small business goal. Next, your target market. Remember, that's going to be the people that you're trying to target with this, whether it be shoppers or people who would sign up for a class, someone who would go to the yoga studio and support them, someone who would buy flowers, people who are planning a wedding. When you figure out your businesses, that's going to help you to figure out your target market as well. What slogan, tagline, or message are you trying to portray? That was for us, growing to the Northeast's largest diesel truck show. You guys are going to come up with your own tagline about supporting local small businesses. And again, you're going to brainstorm and see what works the best for you. After that, you're going to ask what style you want this video to be in. So here's some important questions you can ask yourself. Think about the mood and how you want people to feel when they watch your commercial. Do you want them to be laughing? Do you want to tug on their heartstrings? Do you want them to get up and run out the door and go to that local small business? What visuals are you going to use to portray that? What kind of shots are you going to take? Are you going to take business owners in action working with customers? Are you going to take just the outsides of their business if maybe they're closed? How are you going to use those visual aspects to portray your message of your video? The voice and the audio we talked about. Are you going to do a video interview? Are you going to do a testimonial? You're going to do a voiceover. These are all things that you want to take into consideration. How, through the audio and the voice, are you going to portray your message through the visuals as well? Are you going to script things? Are you going to let the business owners freely talk? Are you going to try to guide them through some questions? So that again kind of goes into how you're setting up the voice and the audio. And it's just something to think about as you're going through. Can you take control of that commercial and tell their story, or would you like them to organically tell their story? After that, you're going to consider what your filming locations are. You have to make sure that these businesses are willing to participate with you, and that we're going to address down the road, reaching out to them and contacting them. But for right now, we just want to think of, as we're brainstorming, hey, this would be a good spot to shoot. This would be a good spot to shoot, and consider where we would film from there. And we can put those into the ideas as we start brainstorming and putting things together in the next session. What style commercial do you want? Again, you're going to do that research. So if you're looking for a happy-go-lucky commercial, you're going to kind of Google in that direction and look in that direction on YouTube or any search engine that will help you, and you can look at those and get some ideas for how they portray things. What businesses do you want to feature? I would suggest starting off listing, if your goal is to have 4 businesses featured, list 8. So you're going to want to list a little bit more, so that way if you have any businesses that aren't able to do it, you can replace them in and you don't have to brainstorm again about some backups. So always have some backups ready. How long is your video going to be? We suggested 90 seconds or less, so keep that in mind as you decide. What does your timeline look like? We briefly talked about that, but you guys are going to see as you're planning how things go and when you're getting these courses. So everything for that timeline is going to be a little bit rough as we go along, but it's good to know kind of where we're headed, that our goal is by May to really be looking to push this commercial out and this video out, and we want to be promoting it by then. So what do you need to consider in your budget? We went through that. And that's something that you're going to also discuss with your teachers as well. They're going to know what you have access to use in the classroom or online, and they'll be able to guide you better through the budgeting with what software they have available to you. And lastly, when you need the contracts and the releases for the filming, that's just something to think about. Yes, you're going to need those releases. What are you going to need them for? Are you going to be shooting buildings, just the people? And kind of list what you'll be using, and then we can work on creating that release down the road. So remember that this is just a brainstorm. Some of these things are going to change. You may have an idea today that you think is it's the best commercial ever, and you're not going to change it. And by tomorrow, you feel differently and you want to tweak it a little bit. So please keep in mind that these are just brainstorming, and you're all here to work together and bounce ideas off of each other, because that's how you get the best idea and the best quality work in the end. So as we move forward in developing the video and the campaign, we're going to incorporate all of these ideas into one master brainstorming sheet, which I'd ask you guys to have ready for the next course, our next session, which will be about reaching out to the business owners, utilizing your resources in the business community, and how you're going to set up those connections to start working with them on filming and getting your video to come together. If you guys have any questions, please ask your teacher. They will let me know. And this video I put as public, so you guys can go on and rewatch it if you need to at my YouTube channel, Golden Owl Consulting. And it will be up there. You guys can just take a look, rewatch it when you need to, if you're answering any questions while you're going through the worksheet and have some questions or need some clarity on one of the items. It's here for you as a resource. So I'm so excited to move on to step 3 in a few weeks. And I hope that you guys have a great time brainstorming and really let out that creativity inside of you. And again, any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teacher, and they'll let me know, and I'll do my best to answer for you. Have a great day, guys.